Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday, January 14th. It is actually my wife's birthday, and by a weird coincidence, my dog's birthday. So I hope everybody is off to a good start today. I can already see in the chat we've got some international folks in here. So good afternoon to all of you. For the rest of us here in the United States, we are waking up to yet another day of insanity due to our definitely demented president. I will get more into that in just a moment, but just a brief overview of what happened in the last 24 hours since we last spoke live. He's had multiple meltdowns on social media, threatening a quote day of reckoning for the state of Minnesota. He had a senior moment where he didn't remember something that he had done multiple times in the last few months alone. And we're finally getting some accountability on the Epstein files. Looks like a couple of people might be going to jail. Although it's not the people we thought it would be, but there is a weird development with that. So a lot of insanity to cover today, folks. We're going to jump right into this. Yesterday in the White House, while talking to reporters from the New York Times, specifically reporter Katie Rogers, Donald Trump didn't remember promising tariff rebate checks to Americans, which he has done on multiple occasions. Most recently in November, he got on Truth Social and said that a dividend of $2,000 per person, assuming you meet the certain income thresholds, would be coming. He said anybody who doesn't like tariffs is a fool. And this was all, by the way, from that one post in November. But he had promised the $2,000 tariff rebate checks multiple times before that, and he has done it multiple times after that. So Katie Rogers with the New York Times asked Donald Trump to his face in the Oval Office, point blank, quote, "You've promised $2,000 checks to Americans based off of your tariff revenues. When can they expect those?" And old Dementia Donnie said, "I did that? When did I do that? When did I do that?" And then she said, "Well, I mean, you're..." And then he interjected and said, "Yeah, I'm thinking, well, I did 1,776 for the military," which, as we all know, was actually just a housing stipend that he rebranded into some kind of, bonus, which wasn't a bonus. It was actually the money they were already owed. But he didn't remember the tariff rebate checks. And then after Katie Rogers kind of jogged his memory a little bit, he said, well, I am going to. The tariff money is so substantial. That's coming in that I'll be able to do $2,000 sometime. I would say toward the end of the year. So all you MAGA folks out there that may think like, oh boy, I'm getting my $2,000 rebate check. Hooey. No, you're not. He doesn't even remember promising it to you. Even though, again, he did it multiple times. The check is not in the mail. The check is not coming. It'll show up right around the time when those, Doge rebate checks show up, right? I mean, that was the first check that Donald Trump's administration had promised. Then it was the tariff rebate checks. He's not going to give you anything. And as I've pointed out in the past, even if he does, it still doesn't even amount to the amount of money that you have lost due to price increases that you've paid because of the tariffs. You're getting back a tiny fraction, if you ever do, which I don't think you will, of what you've lost. And he wants to do it right before the midterms to try to bribe people into voting for Republicans. This whole thing is so insanely transparent that I don't see how anyone could be stupid enough to fall for it. Even with all the stupidity we have seen from these MAGA followers being duped at every single turn, even y'all gotta see why this isn't going to happen. And that's, of course, just the one side of it. The other side is we have a president of the United States that is exhibiting signs of dementia daily now. It's daily. It's not, oh, once a week he does a thing. This is now happening daily because it is accelerating, and it is accelerating rapidly. Why? Well, because as I've pointed out a million times in the past, when he undergoes periods of intense stress like he is right now, his mental state gets worse. And every time it gets worse, whatever it kind of drops to becomes the new baseline. That's the new normal. It never gets better again. It just stays at that level until it gets crazier and drops even lower. So the Trump we see today is the most sane, the most mentally put together that we will ever see him again. And I hope everybody understands that. But he is under this stress. He's terrified of being impeached when the Democrats win the midterms. He has no idea what he's doing with Venezuela. He is losing his mind over Greenland. He is freaking out about polls. The ICE killing has absolutely pushed him over the edge. He hates Pam Bondi. He hates Kristi Noem. And all of that stress is causing his brain to rapidly decay. And that's what we're witnessing happening in real time right now. Got a bunch of super chats that came through. Want to get to these. This one from Roman numeral 4 says, if Donnie Dimwit really viewed Russia as a threat to Greenland, he'd impose sanctions on them, but we all know why he wouldn't dare cross his owner. I agree. Don Whitehead says, good morning, Farron, and to everyone else. Thank you very much. And Skeet Sayre says, nothing new here. Does anyone forget his grocery money? Yeah, I do think a lot of what Donald Trump says and does and then repeatedly says and then forgets that he says, this is a man, and I'm glad you brought up the grocery thing. He doesn't understand groceries. He thinks he coined the term grocery. He doesn't understand how much groceries cost. I don't know that he's ever legitimately had to be the one to take the shopping list and go to a grocery store ever in his life. So thank you for kind of reminding me by using the term grocery, which again, Donald Trump says that he created that word. Nobody was using that word. I used the word, and everybody uses the word grocery. It's dementia and a little bit of insanity too. V-Man says, hey, Farron, did you see that a YouGov economist poll has shown for the first time disbanding ICE as a net positive 3%? I did. And that is one of the things, by the way, coming up later. I do have that, and that is something that I will be discussing shortly because that poll has a lot of really important information. So thank you. You and I obviously on the same page there. And I will be getting to that very soon. But until then, we do have to talk a little bit about ICE in Minnesota. Donald Trump, during one of his meltdowns yesterday, came out and threatened what he is calling, quote, a day of reckoning and retribution for Minnesota. Here is Donald Trump's full post from Truth Social. Do the people of Minnesota really want to live in a community in which there are thousands of already convicted murderers, drug dealers, and addicts, rapists, violent, released, and escaped prisoners, dangerous people from foreign mental institutions and insane asylums, and other deadly criminals too dangerous to even mention? Well, that's bad. You know a crime is bad when you're literally not even allowed to say it. Even if you're the president of the United States, you're not allowed to say it. I didn't know such a crime existed. Because, you already got the murderers, the rapists, the drug dealers, everybody else. But apparently there is something that is worse than murder and rape. that even the president of the United States is not allowed to say it out loud. Interesting. But he continues. All the patriots of ICE want to do is remove them from your neighborhood and send them back to the prisons and mental institutions from where they came. Most in foreign countries who illegally entered the USA through Sleepy Joe Biden's horrible open borders policy. Every place we go, crime comes down. In Chicago, despite a weak and incompetent governor and mayor fighting us all the way, a big improvement was made. Thousands of criminals were removed. Minnesota Democrats love the unrest that anarchists and professional agitators are causing because it gets the spotlight off of the $19 billion that was stolen by really bad and deranged people. Fear not, great people of Minnesota. The day of reckoning and retribution is coming. Okay, well, let's go ahead and clear some things up. It was not 19 billion, it was 9 billion. So, you stuck a 1 in there when you didn't need to, but Trump is known to exaggerate. And I guarantee you, as time goes on, as per usual, that number is going to increase. Like now, instead of 9, he's saying 19. Tomorrow, it's probably going to be 23 billion. By the weekend, we could be up to 40 billion. Just like, and I said this at the time, when he went from 6 wars ended, now he's like, I ended 7. Now he claims he's ended 8. He always just ups the numbers because few people question him. He's surrounded by spineless yes people, so he will continue to lie about numbers because nobody's going to call him on it, and his base is dumb enough to believe literally anything that comes out of his mouth. But I don't know what this post means. A day of reckoning. I get that, right? Day of reckoning. You get your comeuppance. Karma catches up to you, whatever. But retribution? Retribution meaning, of course, revenge. Who is Donald Trump taking revenge on? And what is that revenge, that retribution going to look like with his armed Gestapo forces running around the state of Minnesota? That's a terrifying thought because we've already seen what these agents are capable of doing multiple times. So what are they getting revenge for? What is Trump getting revenge for? The protests? The people who don't like him? The people who don't support ICE? But this is a terrifying revelation from the President of the United States promising retribution against the entire state of Minnesota. That I don't know. I mean, does he even know that his good buddy Mike Lindell is in Minnesota? I mean, also, no. Minnesota is not flooded with thousands of convicted murderers, rapists, drug dealers, blah, 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 and crimes too bad to mention. That's also not a thing. He makes these lies up, rarely gets called on it by the corporate media. Nobody around him physically is going to call him on it. So he just says it, and that becomes the narrative. Like, that's the talking point. We've just got all these criminals running around Minnesota. And if that were the case, there would be video, folks. We would see violent, horrible crimes happening on cameras. I mean, everybody has cameras. We walk around with cameras in our pocket. Everybody has cameras. We walk around with cameras in our pocket all day. I mean, almost every person you see has a camera on them. Homes are now equipped with doorbell cameras, with driveway cameras, with all of these things. Stores, cameras everywhere. So where's the footage, right? Where are these violent murders taking place? Where are all of these god-awful, horrible things that are plaguing the state of Minnesota? Where are they? They don't exist. They genuinely do not exist. Great super chat here from Skeets here. Says the only violent crimes being done by ICE. Oh, yeah, there's your murderer. I mean, technically taking somebody's life is murder, whether justified or not. So, that's what it is. Skeets here also says he literally just described the Trump admin and some of the Congress on the red side. I agree. those are the criminals in his administration. Those are his supporters that he pardoned. You want to talk about violent criminals, you want to talk about soft on crime, then how about the guy that let 1,500 Capitol rioters go? We can't hold those people accountable ever again. And even though it's been almost a year, that thought will randomly pop into my head, honestly, multiple times a week and just piss me off so bad. Roman numeral 4 says, worse than murder. Oh God, is he going to force Minnesotans to work in the Bedminster kitchen? A reference to, by the way, the report that came out from the lawsuit showing that Bedminster is quite disgusting with maggots and flies and constant health code violations. Pretty gross stuff. Eris, a super chat here, says, ICE transported at least over 50 ICE vehicles yesterday into Kansas City. Seems like my city, unfortunately, is next on his hit list. And it's because the Chiefs didn't make the playoffs. So you got to punish the city for not supporting the team enough to make them do well. I kid, of course, but that is terrifying. Thank you for that update. And yeah, look, if anybody else has any updates, you see anything, hear anything, please shout it from the rooftops. Let everybody know, because if this thing is in fact happening in Kansas City with an escalation, that's not something that's been reported. So if you can see it on the ground and nobody else is talking about it, please do tell us. I really do appreciate that. A question here, actually, this is a really important one. It says, what should us in Denmark do with Trump? I think the Danish foreign minister or defense minister, I don't know why I always say foreign minister, was very clear about what the military is going to do, which is if there is an invading force, you're not even allowed to wait for orders. You use force to get those people out of there. A super chat from Thomas says, hi, I have been watching you since late 19, early 2020. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Moving on to a new topic here. We are going to get some accountability with the Epstein files that could result in at least 2 people finally going to prison, but not because of what they did while friends with Jeffrey Epstein, not because of what they did on the plane or maybe on the island or part of the cover-up. No. The 2 people who might go to jail over the Epstein files are Bill and Hillary Clinton. Finally got them, folks. Bill and Hillary Clinton, I guess, going down. Not because Bill is all over the Epstein files, but because they did not show up for a congressional hearing. They were officially subpoenaed and required to show up for a hearing on Tuesday, and they just said, we're not going to come because we feel that your subpoena is illegitimate. So the old Roger Stone defense, which did not work out well for Roger Stone, and honestly, probably not going to work out too well for the Clintons. But this is the accountability we get, right? It's not because they did something. It's because you guys didn't show up for a subpoena, which, I mean, I'll be honest, was total BS anyway. I don't know why James Comer, Republican chair of the House Oversight Committee, even needs to talk to them about the Epstein files. I mean, read the files, James, if you want answers from these people. Look, Comer is already threatening to hold them in contempt, which, fine, do it. Like, I don't care. I am not going to sit here and defend them defying a subpoena. I think the subpoena was stupid. Sure, the subpoena itself was dumb, but not showing up for it is also dumb. I mean, you guys are retired. You don't have anything else going on. Just go in there, make Comer look like an idiot, and then leave. Like, you had everything to gain from this. Well, Hillary did. Maybe not Bill. probably some questions Bill doesn't want to answer, but the public deserves those answers. But this is where we're at with the Epstein files, right? We're almost 4 weeks overdue on Pam Bondi releasing all of them. We're still at like 1%-ish released. And the only accountability we're going to get is Bill and Hillary Clinton didn't show up for a congressional hearing, and now James Comer wants to hold them in contempt. That's how dumb this is. That is how horrible these Republicans in the House are to create a distraction that involves the Epstein files, but doesn't talk about what's in the files. So a little clever trickery there, I guess, from Comer, but whatever. I mean, if Bill and Hillary Clinton end up going and spending, 60 days in jail for defying the subpoena, I'm not going to lose any sleep. I'm honestly not even going to care. But the whole thing is very stupid, and it is yet another distraction from what's actually in the files and the people that need to be held accountable. Bunch of super chats came in. Let me get to all these. Skeets here again says the Canadian government issued an advisory to not travel to the U.S. if we have any left-leaning content on our devices. Honestly, a lot of other countries too have kind of warned their citizens, like, listen, don't post on social media. Travel agents, in other countries really don't post on social media. If you have, go back, delete it. I did not know Canada had done that. And another super chat says KCTV5 reported on it yesterday, and it's on YouTube. That is absolutely crazy that we now live in that kind of world. But it's right. I mean, we have seen people detained trying to get into this country based solely on what they've put on social media. So it's not surprising. And honestly, it is good advice. Even better advice, however, is I wouldn't recommend coming here. Not right now. It's not worth it. There's nothing here right now that's worth being stuck in an ICE facility for several months. I know Disney World can be fun, Universal Studios, Vegas, New York City's amazing. I mean, the mountains of Colorado, Utah, Arizona, it's gorgeous, but none of that is worth spending a few months in an ICE detention facility being tortured because of something you put on social media. So that's my advice. Quanthruk says, it's so easy peasy to play bully when given the entire American military on a golden MAGA platter to use in any way you want, except in Russia or China. China. I do think it's hilarious that Donald Trump still can't pronounce words correctly, like Venezuela. But yeah, when you have the might of the entire U.S. military behind you, it's pretty easy to go out there and act like Billy Badass, which is exactly what Trump is trying to do. Unfortunately, he's also still him, and he just looks like a pathetic, crotchety old dementia patient who has no idea what he's saying. Super Chat says, I can already hear the defenses. We were just following orders. It sounds better in its original language. And I absolutely cannot pronounce that, but Tesla. Sorry. Yeah, it's that we're going to see a lot of that. I was just following orders. They told me to do this. They told me to invade this country. They told me to arrest these people. They told me to drag the disabled woman out of her car, in case you haven't seen that footage. And it's no defense. It wasn't a defense after World War II. It's not a defense today. As I mentioned, as V-Man also mentioned, we've got a fun new poll to talk about. In fact, I think we actually have two fun new polls to talk about. ICE is underwater. That was a weird statement. Honestly, that didn't hit my ear right, saying ICE is underwater. But you know what I mean. The American public not only grotesquely disapproves of everything ICE is doing, but they also want to see Jonathan Ross, the officer that killed Renee Good last week, they want to see him prosecuted. Let me read from the poll. This one is a YouGov poll. Question was, do you think the ICE agent should face criminal charges for shooting the woman in Minneapolis? And 53% said yes, and only 30% said no. So a majority of people surveyed want Ross prosecuted, and I think he should be, for killing good. Do you think the ICE agent was justified or not justified in the amount of force he used in shooting the woman in Minneapolis? 53% said no, not justified. 28% said yes, justified. 60% said that Trump's ICE agents use unnecessary physical force against U.S. citizens who have not committed immigration or customs violations. And the survey also showed that ICE now has a net favorability rating of -12. In another poll, this is a civics poll, the first one was YouGov. Would you support or oppose abolishing ICE? 46% strongly support or somewhat support, and only 43% are against it. So a plurality of Americans are in favor of abolishing ICE. A majority of Americans believe that ICE is acting as basically a rogue Gestapo force. Those are good numbers. And again, a majority want to see a prosecution of Jonathan Ross. Now, prosecution does not mean conviction. And I want to point that out because I do think it is an important distinction to make, because a majority of people are not saying put him in jail. They're saying, let's have the trial, right? Which is fair. That is absolutely fair. Let's get it all out there. Let's put it for a jury to decide. Let's let the public hear what was going through that officer's head, other than, profanely calling her a bitch after she was dead. I think it was that guy who said it. It's kind of hard to tell from the video, but somebody did after she was dead. So we can hear from that person too, in the event it wasn't Jonathan Ross. But I do like that a majority of Americans are like, let's have the justice system do what the justice system is supposed to do. But I also really, really love the fact that most Americans are out there saying, like, F ICE. That's where we're at. F them. They shouldn't exist. They're using excessive force. And last February, by the way, ICE actually had a positive approval rating. Most Americans were like, yeah, we love ICE. Who doesn't love some ICE every now and then? They do good work. This is a huge thorn in the side now for this administration that has basically made ICE the backbone of their domestic policy. Immigration is Trump's big issue. It is his favorite thing in the world. And that's how he was able to convince a lot of very dumb people to vote for him. Now they're not buying it. Now he has nothing. He is going down. I mean, honestly, we have not seen somebody lose as much support as he did, as quickly as he did, and we're still not even through the first year. We got 6 more days till we hit the 1-year anniversary. And everything he does is unpopular. Everything he touches falls to pieces. He's failed every single step of the way. And the public fully understands that. Let me get to these super chats here. Here we go. Skeet Sayer says, Renee Good is such a hot potato that it makes the government response pure evil stupidity. Yeah. I mean, there's no justification. The way that they are speaking about her, still referring to her as a domestic terrorist, Trump calling her a paid agitator. They're trying everything they can to smear this woman. I mean, hell, the FBI has now launched an investigation into her past to try to come up with something to justify basically executing her in the street. There's nothing. I mean, unless we find out that she was a, serial killer cannibal, And even then, you're still supposed to go through the proper, justice system instead of executing people in the streets of the United States. Scorpius ZA says, frankly, every single ICE employee, top to bottom, needs to be criminally investigated when they can be. Even those that say they don't support this, by not resigning, they tacitly support it. I agree. And honestly, I've kind of mentioned the same type of thing with the rest of the administration. If you stay there, you're supporting it. Even if you say you don't support it, even if you genuinely don't support it, by being there, you're supporting it. You're materially supporting it. Maybe not mentally, maybe not with your heart, but you are supporting it. Listen, folks, that is all the time I got for today. Thank you all so much. We covered a lot of ground. I do appreciate that. Thank you all so much for the super chat comments. Anybody that's not subscribed, please do so. Tons of great content coming up throughout the rest of the day. And I will see you all live once again tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Until then, take care of yourselves and try to, not get overwhelmed with all the craziness happening.